What's going on? It's SFT, and we got a video about the college football playoffs. How I feel about it, what went on in that championship weekend, and I cannot wait to get into this because I feel really strongly about a lot of these decisions and how the council approached or the committee approached creating this playoff. So we can start off with the SEC championship. Georgia defensively looked excellent, looked really good. I thought they gave up a lot of yardage, but it's about bending and not breaking, right? That's what it's about at the end of the day. You can give up as much yardage as possible. Take 3. Their field goal kicker missing 2 key field goals inside the game. But outside of that, stopping them in the red zone, consistently stopping the run. I loved it. 6 men in the box. You know how Georgia runs. They don't do 7 men in the box. Rarely will they ever, unless you run power early. They're putting 6 men in that box. They're thugging it out. And they were confident. I loved their defense, man. Their defense this game was phenomenal against this Texas offense. And this Texas offense, underwhelming, but we're going to get to that. In terms of Georgia's offense in the first half, disgusting. This offense has been poor so many games. Against Georgia Tech, they were poor. Against Kentucky, they weren't good. Against Alabama in the first half, they weren't good. Against so many good teams, Ole Miss, I thought they weren't good. They weren't good in that first half, right? Against Florida, they weren't good. So they have more games that they were bad on offense than they were good on offense. Real talk. Against Tennessee, I didn't think they were good offense in the first half. So starting off really slow, and we get that bad Carson Beck hit. Hopefully he's fine. He looked like he could have moved his right arm. It's tragic to see. It really is tragic to see. Do I think they lost much? No, not really, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think he had a great season. I thought he was good in the Tennessee game, but yeah. Putting in a backup quarterback and still winning. Texas, oh my lord, you got blood on your hands, Texas. How the hell do you lose this football game? I'm looking at this football game like, yo, this is a wrap. Halftime comes in, rookie quarterback, he only played, maybe half a game against Massachusetts probably. So I'm thinking to myself, yo, they got this in the bag. And they find a way to lose the damn game. How? How do you lose the game? How? You're playing as a backup quarterback. Your defense is not playing bad. And your offense is shitting the bed. 20 years is garbage. I don't care what anybody tells me, man. This guy, he needs to go to the NFL or something. He can't come back next year. You got to move on to Archie Manning. This guy, his ceiling, man, it's like something catches him whenever they need him to step up against a good football team. Unless it's Alabama. Against Alabama, he's hooping. Outside of Alabama, he ain't hooping against nobody else. Against Georgia, did you see missing throw? That interception that he had towards 6. What? I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe it. And then they go to overtime, can't even get a touchdown. And then Georgia goes down to get a touchdown. How the hell do you lose to a backup quarterback? I understand struggling against the defense, but to a backup quarterback? Georgia with a backup quarterback? Are you serious? Texas. You must be ashamed of yourself. Yeah, man, this is embarrassing, man. It has nothing to do with the refs. I heard their head coach complaining about the refs at half. Yeah, they were giving, home court advantage, but bro, this is tragic. Absolutely tragic. I couldn't believe it. How the hell did you lose this football game? Man, they deserve to get kicked out the playoffs just because of that. I'm a big believer in kicking teams out the playoffs. Some teams, they deserve to get kicked out. You lose to a team. You think you're an elite football team that can contend for a national championship, and you lose to a team with a backup quarterback that can barely throw the football because he's limited in experience and he's limited in trust? This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. We're going to get to the next game with the ACC championship. SMU versus Clemson. SMU struggling early on. Clemson, I wasn't happy with SMU's performance overall. I don't think Clemson are a great team. They're not a bad team, but they're not great either. And for them to struggle early on in the first half against Clemson, they showed a lot of character to get back into the game, erasing a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. That speaks more volume about how poor Clemson is as a football team. And then Clemson to win the game on a 55-yard field goal, I believe. Clemson, man. Clemson. I don't know how the hell you let them get back into the game, but you did. And that's what your whole season has been. Underwhelming play, playing down to the level of competition. In terms of SMU, I did not think they were good. They weren't, this is a struggle game right here. This is a struggle game. 2 teams that really aren't that good. Haven't played against any good one team has played against good competition. One team was the better team. Clemson was the better football team. They find ways to lose games. That's the only reason why I got that close. But if they took care of business, they should have blew this team out. But if they took care of business, they should have blew this team out. But that's more of an indictment on how poor Clemson is as a football team. SMU, you lost to Clemson, man. How? Clemson? That's crazy, man. It's crazy work. And now we're going to segment to the Big Ten reaction. Oregon versus Penn State. Oregon comes up first 3 possessions, touchdowns. I expected a good defensive performance from Penn State. Penn State has a respectable defense, but they were just getting rolled over today. I thought the players looked unprepared. Really poor defensive play calling. They were getting absolutely killed on play action. I thought at the line of scrimmage, they were getting manhandled. They just weren't good enough defensively in terms of the physicality and personnel. That speaks volumes to what Oregon has become, you know? They showed a lot of character at Penn State. I was shocked that they didn't get blown out because that's something that Clemson State does. When they see a good team, they fold. But this time they fought back a little bit into the game. And going into the second half, I believe they were down by maybe 10 points, maybe 3 to 10 points, right? And then we go into the second half. They get a touchdown early on, cutting the lead down, and they're just keep pushing. And I was really impressed with how Penn State kept competing. Now, they got a big-time stop with 2 minutes left. And what do? Throw the game away and find a way to lose football games like Penn State always does. They've been doing this for the last 7, 8, maybe even more years. At least when I've been watching, 7, 8 years. Just finding ways to lose football games. That's what they do, man. They're not a good football team, you know? That's what they do. They're underachievers. They find ways to lose football game, and whenever they go against a good football team, they fold. But Oregon, I want to get to talking about them because this it wasn't the best defensive performance. Yes, your offense is playing so good to a point where you knew Penn State was going to expand the playbook, so you're going to be dealing with things that you probably did not expect. But I was so impressed with this offensive line. I was so impressed with this offense. I was so impressed with their running game, how they were able to churn out 6 to 7 yards a carry. They were doing really good, especially when they needed to run the football. They were able to run the football when they needed to run the football. Really impressive. I thought their defensive line too was decent early on inside the game. They looked really good in the first quarter. After that, the floodgates kind of opened up for the defense because Penn State had to score points. They scored, it was like 21-7, you know? Oregon was making it rain, but I want to talk about this Oregon team, man, because I remember them last year, and I was a big non-believer in Oregon. I thought they were frauds. I thought they didn't have the physicality. I thought they didn't have the character, and they were just beating up on weaker teams. When they went up against Washington twice, they lost those football games. The only good team they played against, really, they lost those football games last year, and I questioned the character. Even coming into this year, I'm like, this team's, yes, they really upgraded their roster in terms of bringing in more O-line talent, D-line talent, bringing in more receiver core, bringing in a new quarterback, man. Like, it's like they bought a brand new team. You know, Phil Knight's out here putting up mad money to buy a brand new team. Really impressed, though. I was so impressed with how good this offense looked. And talent, boy, and this is what transfers can do for a team. They can completely redevelop and restructure a team's core. Not just their outside, right? Bringing in more faster weapons or bringing in better DBs. No, they're bringing developed O-linemen. They're bringing developed defensive linemen. They're plugging them in with 2 years left on their college eligibility. The transfer portal has been just doing wonders for a lot of football teams, and we're going to get into the college football playoff because it's now finalized. We got, at least for the left side, which are going to be playing against Oregon and ASU, we got Tennessee versus Ohio State. That right there, man, is a great matchup. I love it. This is what I waited for, man. This is what I prayed for. Great matchups like this. I love this matchup. And then they're going to go, whoever wins that football game is going against Oregon. This is what I envisioned when I thought about the college football playoff, top teams playing against top teams. And yes, you can have an easier schedule. Oregon has had an easier schedule than Tennessee. But boy, you're going to have to play against these teams, man. You're going to have to play against these SEC teams. You're going to have to play against these Big Ten teams. You're going to have to play against some of the top Big 12, some of the top, I'm not even going to say AC because there's not a lot of good top AC teams. Now we get into down low, right under it, we got Clemson. I don't know how the hell Clemson got in the playoff. I'm not in agreement. I personally thought, just put in South Carolina. They deserve it. 9-3, they deserve it, man. Like, I thought this is what college football is supposed to be. Like, with the committee, you give teams that deserve to be in. Not teams. Okay, yes, you somehow got into AC championship because Miami lost, and you beat an average team in SMU. But man, one of these teams should have been eliminated. You don't need 2 ACC teams. Like, what's the point of this? Just have a bowl game. Like, this is stupid. But you have Clemson versus Texas. I expect Texas to steamroll them. I expect Texas to steamroll ASU too, and to go up against. I got Tennessee, man. Tennessee. The thing about Tennessee is they struggle in that mid-range, and they're really reliant on the deep ball. That's the issue Tennessee has, but we're going to have that left side is excellent in terms of, I got Texas coming out, Texas versus Oregon. That's who I got. And I got Texas beating Oregon. So Texas is going to the national championship, even though I was talking a lot of trash about them. I'm an Oklahoma fan. So take that as you take it. Then we have on the right-hand side, top right, Indiana number 10 versus Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame blowing Indiana out. So much more talented. Notre Dame versus Georgia after. Oh my Lord. That's going to be a hell of a football game. Oh my Lord. I can't wait for that football game. I got Notre Dame winning. And on the bottom right, we got Boise State at number 3, man. Getting a bye. It's crazy world we live in. SMU versus Penn State. I got Penn State winning. Like, I got Penn State, man, going to the semifinals because they have such an easy bracket. My Lord. They're going against the Ponies and SMU. I think they're going against Boise State. They're going to be running through Texas. So Penn State, I got Penn State versus Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's going to beat Georgia. Their defense is elite. Their defensive line is elite. They're a good football team, man. And Notre Dame versus Penn State, I got Notre Dame winning. And then we got Notre Dame versus Texas. Man, Notre Dame might win a national championship now that I think about it. Like, looking at this bracket, like, Notre Dame, Penn State too. Like, Penn State, whenever they play against a good team, they're going to lose. But that's all I had to say for this video. I'm going to have maybe a preview of each matchup coming up, but that's all I have to say. But what a bracket. I can't wait, especially at top left. Tennessee, I believe Tennessee at Ohio State, and then Ohio State. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out if Ohio State's going to be going to, or whatever team wins that, it's going to be going to Oregon. Like, do these games get the host playoff game, or is that a neutral site? I think it's at a neutral site, but this is going to be a blast, man. SMU going to Penn State. Indiana going to Notre Dame. Clemson going to Texas. Used to pray for times like this, man. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe. Take care. Peace.